Hello everyone, my name is Corazar, and welcome back to the Vintage Story Guide. We are back in the world on this rather windy day. Our windmill is going like crazy, and in the last episode we put together some plans for our future home. And that home is right over here. She's not much of a looker yet, but you know, it'll shape up. We have sort of the bones of where we want to have rooms in our home, at least on the first floor and a little bit of the cellar. But we can't exactly live here now, can we? Nope, you would be right if you thought that. We are not ready to move in here, or rather, it is not ready for us to move in. And so today we are going to take the first step toward accomplishing that goal, after I get some food. Okay, much better. So in today's episode, we are going to fulfill a promise to start building our home. And as I mentioned before, we're going to start by building the kitchen. And I do think that today's episode is going to actually be just the kitchen. I was hoping to get maybe this sort of entryway living room area done too, but after having done some planning and some palette designing, I think it's just not going to happen today. Now, we are hobbits, of course, as everyone knows. Of course we're hobbits. We're not seraphs. No, not in Vintage Story. No seraphs here. No siree. But we want to build in a certain way, i.e. partly under the ground. And to that effect, I want to have sort of a warm, earthy feeling in our kitchen. Now, in the last series, we spent a lot of time in Lupine Ridge, where I used a lot of plaster. And so we had some very white walls and some very, well, bright but very woody trim and floors and ceiling, and I kind of want to get away from that a little bit for the kitchen. Now, not every room in our house is going to be the same style like it was in Lupine Ridge, so we won't have to worry as much about seeing the same colors from room to room to room, but I do want to have things sort of be tied together, so we're going to see some similar features in multiple rooms and make sure that they all kind of share some similarities. But in today's episode, I want to build with a certain set of colors, and we're missing one of them actually, but I know where we can get some because I've seen it on the map. Now, we have available to us at this moment some nice red chert, some vibrant yellow sandstone, some plain but anchoring gray, some deep rich black slate, some bright green peridotite, and some warm brown claystone. Additionally, since we've made this lime here, we could put this in a fire and bake it into quicklime and then turn that into some very bright white plaster. Down in our basement, which I realize is still being sealed up with this hay block, and some of you have complained a bit about that hay block, so you know what? I think it is time that we finally upgrade our entryway to our cellar here with a hay block. Alright, just kidding. Don't yell at me. We are going to actually install our trapdoor here, but we're going to do it right here, because we need to be able to get up and jump onto here, and then jump out. If we put our trapdoor on the other side, I'll show you what happens. Trapdoor here, we can hop on in, get our first one, but we can't get out. We kind of get stuck here because we can't climb the trapdoor, and we also can't sort of stand inside it to get on top of the ladder, so we end up stuck here forever and we die of starvation. Now, we could just put our ladder up to here and put our trapdoor on here, but I don't quite like that look as much. I think it's, I don't know, a little awkward. I prefer to have our trapdoors sunk into the ground so they're level with it. Okay, tangent over, light on. We also have down here a little bit of marble stone. Now, these stones we can turn into cobblestone, just like most other small stones, and it makes a rather vibrant color. Let's get some of this out here, and let's take a look. We're going to grab a single piece of clay, and we're going to turn this into some cobblestone, and you'll see we get a very interesting color. It's a bright white, but chased through with these gray cobblestone lines, of course, and then we have this aqua color that I find rather interesting. I also find it kind of hard to work with. It's surprisingly difficult to make this work into builds, especially ones like this one, where we have these very earthy tones, and you have this sort of marble that sticks out kind of like a sore thumb. Anyway, the first type of block and new color I want to explore with all of you today is actually very close to home. And we're going to want some shears. We're going to want to leave our spare trapdoor in here somewhere along with our grass block. We have not actually explored all of the different colors of wood available to us. Hello, Fox. And there are a few over here that I know we have not knocked down yet. Of course, this puts us very close to bear and wolf territory, so we're going to be very careful and hop around to see if we can spot any snoozing wolves lying in wait. I don't see any in the immediate vicinity, so I think we're okay. Now, we have knocked down, and chopped down, I should say, some oak trees, plenty of maple trees over there, and some birch somewhere, as well as one larch tree. We have not, however, chopped down any walnut trees. We also actually haven't taken down any pine trees, and there's one right over here. It's a nice tall one. Looks like a likely candidate. Now, for some reason, I don't know why, but the walnut trees on World Generation seem to have spawned in with far fewer leaves than they should have. But hopefully we'll get some seeds from this for replanting, because I would like to replant these trees. So I'm going to take down both of these walnut trees. I'm going to go and take down that pine tree, and then we will take a look at what we get from these guys. Now that is a family of wolves standing betwixt us and our pine tree. The question is, do I try to kill them? Oh, there's like 5 of them. Or 3 of them. Well, that's not fun. Alright, come here, wolves. Oop, they're on my tail, that's for sure. Let's go. Into the growling pit with you. Yep, come on. Alright. Okay, 3 wolves in. Please tell me there are not any more around here. Or any bears. Excellent. Alright, so we have 2 new wood types here, and some other odds and ends to talk about. The first of which is that we have 2 new kinds of seeds, although I think I may have picked up some pine seeds by accident earlier. But we now have pine seeds, aka pine cones, and we have walnut seeds. Now you'll see that unlike the maple and the pine seeds, the walnut seeds say, when eaten, 40 satiation, and yes, there are 5 wolves in the pit over there, and food category protein. So you can actually eat these for a little bit of protein, although unfortunately I don't think you can make them into meals, which is weird because I guess you could make a walnut pie in the real world. Although these seeds are kind of uncommon, so they're not really economical to actually use as food. I'll put the seeds away probably up here. Yeah, here we go. And tuck you in there. And let's take a look at the wood, not you, we got from these trees. So we have here walnut wood, and we have pine wood. And you can see the walnut wood has a very dark grain, and a kind of silvery gray, but also very dark bark. Whereas the pine has a very yellow-orange warm color grain, and a reddish bark. And this can be a very interesting bark and color to play with, along with certain kinds of stones. I find this goes especially well with granite. But what about the wood? Let's get a saw out here, and we are going to chop up some of this, if I can find the saw. And here we go. So we have some pine planks and some walnut planks. So as you can see, the planks share many of the same color and tone qualities of the grain on the logs, albeit a bit different. We have some of the same kind of aqua speckles in here that we see from the marble. And over here, again, we have a nice warm tone, a little bit orangier, a little more saturated than the pine log's interior, but that is okay. And I think these are both great building colors. Okay, those are all put away. Now, the next material that I want to look at is kind of a ways away. It's a new one. We haven't built with it before in this series, at least not this season. And so we're going to go out on the morrow and bring a bit of food with us, and we're going to go and take a look at acquiring some. Alright folks, it is morning, and I am going to grab just a couple of these pickaxes, which would be all of them. And I'm just realizing that we actually burned through all those shovels that I made last episode. That is wild. But we need to get out here, and we need to go to one of our translocators, and I don't recall which one. Let's see. To the commodities. Yes, southeast. Okay. And up and away. Okay, so here we are in Granite Land with Snoo. What I'm looking for here is actually something that I had spotted. I think it was down here. We'll do a bit of a trip around here just to see if we can find it. But there is supposedly some bauxite around here. And I'd spotted it on the map earlier because it is a bright orange color. And I intend to use some of it. So let's get moving down past Jasper here. I do think it was to the southeast of Jasper. And we will see. Oh, there's some, I think. We'll see if we can find it. Yes, my eyes do not deceive me. So here we have some bauxite gravel. Look how bright and orange this is. And what I want to do is I want to get some of the stone that lies under here. These are granite stones. Is there maybe only a tiny amount of bauxite around here? What are you? More granite stones. Why is there a teeny tiny bauxite right here? I don't know. I'm going to venture out a little bit around here and see if I can spot or figure out where the heck the rest of this bauxite is, because it's not going to be worth digging down right under here. I mean, we can take a look, but I'm telling you, it's not going to be a whole lot of bauxite. Exactly 0 bauxite, in fact. Okay. Maybe we're going to find some the farther we go south. Let's find out. Oh, here we go. Didn't take too terribly long. And it's not too far below the surface, so let's go ahead and I'm going to move down to the plains here, or at least where it's reasonably flatter. And we'll take a look at the small stones on the ground and see if those are still bauxite. Yes, bauxite. Okay. Excellent. Well then, let's dig down, and we're going to see just how thick of a layer of bauxite we have around here. And we might turn this into a bit of a quarry. Well, it seems that we have a nice and deep layer of bauxite here. Now, bauxite is a funny material. Aside from it being a very striking orange, and gets even more striking when you polish it, it is used for a number of things, namely, well, actually one thing that I can think of, which is steel making. In order to make bricks strong enough to withstand the heat for making steel, you need some bauxite. So when we get to that part of the game, we will be well set up for that adventure. Now, bauxite is also kind of unique in that it doesn't have many ores that it can contain. It has a very, very few. Let's take a look here. I'll pause the game with that. We can find lapis lazuli and flint. That's it. That's all we can find. So we are very unlikely to find anything else in this area. Literally 0% chance of finding anything else in the bauxite layer. And we're less likely to find ores deeper down just because less stone, fewer chances of finding different ores. I'm going to go ahead and dig down a little bit. I'm going to do what's called taking a core sample, where we know what layer of stone is on top, and we know there's granite down here, but there could be additional layers of stone deeper. And it's often good to take a core sample, which means digging down to the mantle and sort of cataloging what stone strata lay down there. And that way, when you set up a quarry, it's not just a single purpose quarry. You can quarry multiple things here. So for instance, we could get bauxite and granite, and if there's maybe andesite, or maybe some basalt, or maybe some other rocks that we haven't come across yet, that could be lurking below the granite here. And it would be good to know about so we can come and get them if we want them. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and when that's all done, I'll come back up and meet you here with the bauxite. Okay, folks, we have made it to the bottom here. And it looks like underneath the granite is a long bit of andesite. And look how surprisingly stable it is here. I mean, it's not stable, but it's not particularly unstable either. So this could be a great place for an andesite quarry, although I know we do have some near our home. But additionally, also way up here, at about Y51, I came across a quartz vein, and whenever you find a quartz vein, it's a good idea to use your Pro Pick on node search mode. That would be the secondary mode here. And of course, this only works if you're in the standard survival. It won't work in the wilderness mode. But I happened to find some gold nearby in small quantities. Now, we're not here for gold today, so I'm going to go ahead and leave it, but I have marked it on the map. Alright, folks, we are here about at the surface, and I'm going to go ahead and we're going to mine in probably this direction a little bit. And I'm just going to go ahead and spend a bit of time quarrying out some of this stone here. Now, if I had had half a brain, I would have remembered to bring along my hammer and chisel, because I actually want to use a lot of this stone in its natural form, and especially I kind of want to chisel it too. However, we are going to need a significant, and I mean significant, amount of bauxite small stones in the future, so I think at this juncture I don't mind doing it the old-fashioned way, i.e. quarrying these naturally. Because what you can do is with the hammer and chisel, when you turn a block from its standard version into a chiseled block, when you mine it, you get that block's chiseled version. And I'll show you how to do that back at the house. But for now, I'm going to spend some time here and quarry out some bauxite, and I'm going to bring it on home, and we'll talk about what I want to do with this bauxite and actually put it to use. Alright, we are back. I'm going to go ahead and start putting into this trunk here the materials that we're going to build with. It's a good idea if you are building a house or any build that is far away, even this far from your current abode, and you're not building a little like hut to sleep in nearby, you are going to want to have a few chests. Now this is probably overkill for our little kitchen, but I was expecting to have a lot more dirt, and so I ended up making overkill. No kill like overkill. But yes, so we're going to put everything that we need in this chest, and that means we need to gather a few more odds and ends. So we're going to go ahead and see what kind of relieved stone we have. So we have some chert and we have some slate. And this is actually perfect for both of these, for what I have in mind. So let's go ahead and bring these over, along with, I think, our chisel and a hammer. There we go. So here we are. We have our slate and our chert. I'll tuck you over there. And the slate is of particular interest in this case because when we turn it into polished rock, let's take a look at it next to its unpolished cousin. So we have polished slate. Get this snow out of the way so we can see it a little better. And its unpolished cousin, look how much darker and richer it gets from that polishing. And a little more purpley too. I want to use some of this polished slate rock in our floor, alongside some polished chert and some polished limestone. Now, when we went limestone hunting the other day, over here, I didn't actually quarry out any limestone. I set up a quarry for it, as in I dug the 2-block separated hallways, but I didn't actually do any quarrying because our inventory was quite full. So I'm going to go do that. I'm going to get us some limestone, and then we also need a bit of sandstone for this build. So I'm going to go and find, I think we did dig out some sandstone from somewhere. I don't know. I'll see if we have any sandstone quarries here. If not, I'll just dig down and get some because there's loads of it here. Oh, you know what? It's under here, isn't it? I think it is. Well, I guess I better go get to it. Alright, with all the fun parts out of the way, I guess we can get to the building. But not quite yet. First of all, I did want to show you, as you saw in the little montage there, that we are indeed making some blue clay bricks, because just like the fire clay bricks, we can turn the clay into colorful bricks. And I wanted to use some of both fire clay and blue clay in our build here. Now the second thing I wanted to show you is that we have some new inhabitants, some new neighbors. And I found them because I came over here to do a bit of hunting, and looks like what I hunted has already respawned. I swear, these sheep show up like minutes after you kill them. And are you... You're low, of course you are. First of all, you hear all the bajillion chickens. But we now have some baby sheep. We have 2 over here. Now, we won't know what sex they are until they grow up, so we can't kill any of their parents just yet. Because we could end up with 2 males, and then, well, we don't want to kill our females. And we could end up with 2 females, and we don't want to kill our ram. Now, you'll see that we have some chickens hanging out here, and I've discovered something, is that the chickens are actually made of popcorn, as you can see. When they get freaked out enough and they get into a corner, it looks like there's a bug in this version of the game where they can kind of pop up like that, and I don't like that too much. So I have set about here trying to shore this up with some dirt for now, which is not what I want to do, but I think we have to. What'll happen is, since we have a cockerel and a rooster, when the cockerel grows up into a rooster, and I think we have 2, it looks like, we have 2 cockerels, they will kind of duke it out, and one will be the victor. There can be only one, and yep, they'll peck each other to death, and we'll come in here and there'll be a dead rooster and whatever. Not much we can do about that, but I can seal that for now. So I'm thinking that when we do build a bigger barn, we will have to seal in all of our chickens. Anyway, I'm going to go back home and make it daytime. Hopefully it'll be less rifty, and then we will get over to our future kitchen. See you all in a bit. Ew. Ugh. Alright folks, it is finally morning. I guess I should check on our bricks first. Are they still going back here? Oh no, they're done. Come with me. And you get to come with me too. Now before we get too crazy, we do need to... In order to turn these into actual brick blocks, we need some mortar. And to make that, we are going to need a spare bucket. Do I have a spare bucket? I can have a spare bucket. There we go. Or barrel, not a bucket. Okay, so mortar requires quicklime. Now, we're going to use a fire pit to make some quicklime, bearing in mind that we do have the better fire pits on, so this is going to go a lot faster than it used to. In the previous season, what we had to do was we had to basically set up a single seed campfire, and I had about 9 or 10 other campfires on the floor, and we would just sort of sit in the middle of them with all the windows open, using the Alt key to move around and open them all, like so. And then we had to wait for the stack to get hot, heat all of the fires up with a ton of peat, and then as these stayed hot, we would have to drop them 2 at a time into each fire pit. And that took a while. That would take about 20 minutes in order to do a reasonably large enough stack to make a lot of mortar or plaster. Now we were making a lot of plaster. Mortar tends to go a lot quicker. But we're going to see just how fast this goes once these get to 825 degrees. Okay, yeah, this is going to be much better because we're going to stay hot once we finish this bit of the stack. Yes, there we go. So 2 of these turn into 1 quicklime. And we'll get about 2 of these per brick of peat. So we're going to let that go. And there is something else I should mention. Well, 2 big things. One is that since we punched this hole in the roof to put our corn up here and automate it, our house no longer seals. So we don't actually have a house or a cellar up here anymore. The second thing, speaking of cellars, is that we are now in 1.18.6, and Tyron has fixed the bugs involving crocks and shelves. So we can go ahead and we can restack our grain over there. and we can actually put our jam on these shelves, like so. And these should stay here and stay good for 2.5 years. Well, up to. As it warms up outside, the inside temperature of our cellar will go up, so that will change. But let's get ourselves over here, past our good friend the Rift, and we are going to set about building our first room here. Starting with the floor, I think. Now, for the floor, I was thinking it would be fun to use a whole bunch of slate, specifically polished slate, and some polished limestone. Not nearly as much of this, maybe 10 of these. We'll see. And then, of course, I forgot to bring along the chert. Oh, no I didn't. It was here the whole time. Silly me. Okay, a little bit more chert than the limestone. Maybe like 12 or 15. And be aware that if you are chiseling out rocks like we did in the montages where we chiseled the rock and then mined it out, you won't be able to turn them into polished rocks. So be careful, or at least be aware. So let's get in here and let's get some floor going on. We're going to start by taking out the stone, or the dirt here. Okay, we'll leave you here just for now. And first, I want to do a ring of the slate around here, just as a perimeter. There we go. And then we're going to use the limestone and the chert to make a grid pattern. And actually, I needed more limestone than chert, but we have plenty of both. And that there is going to be our kitchen floor. Now, just so that we don't end up falling down and being unable to get back up, I think I'm going to go ahead and put our stairs in down to the cellar. And for that, I want to use some pine, because pine has that nice warm color I keep talking about. And we need a saw. Saw acquired. And stairs, of course, are made in a simple L shape. It's probably more than we need, but we'll use it eventually. And if we don't, we can always break them back down into planks later. So we're going to go ahead and... I miscounted. That's why this looks strange. So we're going to go ahead and drop in some stairs. I said stairs. There we go. We have a nice floor, and we have our stairs in. Now, next up we need some oak, and I'm totally glad that I didn't forget to bring anything with me. And you are doing all right. Let's took a couple more of you in here. And this is enough to start, so we'll let you just finish, hopefully finish. And we're going to saw us up some oak. And hopefully we have enough. If not, there are plenty of oak trees around. I don't think we have enough, but that's okay. And we are just going to put the oak as kind of a lower part of all of our walls here. You, actually no, we do need to worry about you because you will show to the other side. So, let's get those. And I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put the first one down, but I don't like the vertical planks look in general. There are uses for them, but I typically prefer horizontal. I don't know why. So I'm going to make sure that I place all of these on the sides of these blocks here. Okay. I'm going to go get another oak tree and finish this job. You know, the oak tree right by that bear sitting up there. Ooh. We'll just very quietly chop this tree down. The bear will never hear us. Okay, with that and with that, our oak is done. Next up, I want to do some sandstone. Because as I said, I want to go for some bright colors in our kitchen because it's going to be a bit of a cave otherwise. So we're going to get some bright colors in here, and that means sandstone and some bauxite. Now I am going to leave out the corners on these guys. I think I'll go ahead and I'll just... because I don't think I'm going to have the sandstone poking out on the other side. I do think I will have the wood trim though. Except for here. This one does get some sandstone. So these are chisel blocks. The bauxite is not, because I forgot to bring the hammer and chisel with us when we went there. I'm just going to go ahead and lay in some of this, but I am going to tear this one out because I want to have a bit of a breakfast bar right here. So that will be that. And then we will just come in here and fill this in like so. There we are. And then on top goes our bauxite. And again, I'm going to leave this open for now. And there we go. Very nice. Could do for a bit less snow on everything, but survive. Okay, and now that we are home, we can go ahead and we're going to start making our slaked lime so that we can then make some mortar. Now, we don't need a ton of quicklime for this. And you can really only do up to, I think, batches of 16, because this will get really full really fast. So we're going to go ahead and break you. And we need to put in just 8 ounces, or sorry, 8 liters. So we're going to... try to pick up some of this. There we go. We'll just splash you there. Now this should... oh, right. We needed 2 liters of water in here. There we go. 8 liters of slaked lime. Alright, now we get rid of you. And now we need to grab some sand. And I think we're going to want about 32. And we're going to just chuck this sand in here. You want to put in as much sand as you have liters of slaked lime, and then you'll get, basically you'll multiply them together, and that's how much mortar you get out of it. And this wasn't a huge mortar batch, but I didn't want to overwhelm everything that we have here. Well, you know what? I could almost go for another one. Meh, we'll leave it for now. And so we're going to make some brick blocks, and to do that, you just take your mortar, put it in the middle of your grid, and surround it with bricks, like so. Now, you can make slabs like this, but you'll see that their texture is different. You have sort of an across stacking texture, whereas this, they're interleaved. And I want this texture specifically for what we're doing, so I'm not going to make any of these slabs. And the stairs are also the same way. And they're made backwards to everything else, apparently. But the stairs have the same texture as the slabs, and again, since I don't want that look, I'm not going to go for it. But we're going to need a few of these, and probably about the same number of blue clay bricks. Alright, and what are we going to be doing with these bricks, Corazar? Well, one you should ask. The first thing is I want to tear up these 3 right here, and these are going to get replaced with the fire clay bricks, because this is where we're going to have our fires. If I can get the right block, there we go. And then I'm going to have a bit of a counter space over here, with probably a cutout here for like a sink. So we'll leave that for now. And then we're going to have more counter here, and I think that should about do it. Now we're going to get some grass here. Cut you and you. And I guess we'll grab you. And these will be our fires. And on top of here, I'm going to put a series of clay ovens, so we'll get those in a little bit. But I wanted to use the fire clay because, again, this is for high heat applications. We're going to need some nice hot bricks here. And actually, that reminds me, we're going to have to put a backing on of fire clay bricks so we don't end up burning our house down. And this is a point I made earlier in the series, but you do want to make sure that you don't have wood near your fires. It isn't that it's going to go up in flames like it would if you had a pit kiln here, for instance, but if you're crouching with your torch and you're not paying attention, you might end up like setting this block on fire, and you certainly can set wood blocks on fire. You can set anything on fire. Oop, like that, and that was catch on fire. We're going to very much not do that though, because that will set this wood here aflame, and we don't want that either. So we will have 3 clay ovens right here, and that means we're going to have a chimney over top of them. Gonna need some more of these fire clay bricks. There we go. And we'll do it about like that. And then something else I want to do is I want to have a bit of a facade here. I don't want to just have like blocks, like where we don't have anything keeping the fire in and the heat in. I want to have a bit of facade to our fireplace so we can have like a little arch. We're going to do that by getting into our very first real chiseling of the season. And what we're going to do here is we're going to take the chisel in our main hand and our hammer in our offhand. And I'm going to put our lantern down right here. It's not going to give the best light, but it's what we have to work with. And of course, to chisel, to make a chisel block, you just right-click with it, with the chisel in your right hand and your hammer in your left hand. And I'm going to leave these alone for the time being. They might not need to be chiseled. And these will, and this will. And you have options. You can bring up the menu by pressing F, or in my case, a different key, while you have the chisel in your hand, your hammer in your offhand, and you are looking at a chiseled block. You can chisel in a 1x1x1, just like with clay forming, a 2x2x2, a 4x4x4, and an 8x8x8. You can also rotate your block. You do clockwise with left click and counterclockwise with right click. You can flip the block, so it'll flip it on the axis you're looking at, like so. And you can also set a name for the block. So if we wanted to call this my fire pit, we could, my fireplace. You can also add materials to a block, and we're going to do that in a moment once I get the general shape for this sorted out here. So I want to basically shorten this and make this a lot thinner. I want to go down to the 4x4s because these bricks are designed very nicely to be used with the 4x4x4 chiseling. I'm also going to shave this down just to give it a better appearance, I think. And then I'm going to sit down here and I'm going to chisel out some of these here. Maybe we'll add a U back in. Now, here's a bit of a dilemma. This is one block here. This is a second block. We can't work on this block by chiseling the adjacent block. We have to get underneath here. So I'm going to dig this out. I think I'm going to add back in, if I can, that brick right there. There we go. I'm just going to chisel these out, like so. And you know what, we are actually going to take out these after all. There we go. Okay. Now, and I realize I did a silly thing here, but I am going to actually probably replace this one right here with a full block of blue clay bricks, like so. And probably chisel this guy down as well. There we go. Now we're going to get into how to add blocks to other blocks to make a multi-block chisel block. You have a couple options. One is, since we have this block here, I could pick up, say, this block, for instance. I can combine them in my inventory like this, because they're both chiseled blocks. And when I pull it out, it'll say multi-material chiseled block. I'm not going to do that because I want to preserve this fire clay block here. And I'm just going to put this one back. There we go. The other method of adding blocks to blocks is going into the menu here and grabbing your block you want to add and adding it that way. Beware that in this case, I don't think you can add chiseled blocks to chiseled blocks, but let's find out. No, you cannot. So you have to use fully unchiseled blocks, which is one reason why you do want to make sure you get some relieved stone and not just chiseled stone. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to add some more to this one. And I am going to chisel some of these blue clay bricks in here. Actually, this needs to be fire clay as a bit of a border. I think it would just look nice. Oh, and this one needs to have some bricks added. There we go. And there we go. And we'll do the same thing over here. And there we are. I'm I'm also going to add the blue clay bricks up to the chimney area here, up to the flue, I guess. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace all the blocks around the perimeter with the blue clay bricks. And I'll be using the word blocks and bricks interchangeably. You have to just guess what I mean. And I'm also going to go ahead and just sort of tear out all of these blocks here to make this a seemingly functional chimney, even though it isn't actually. That's okay. And then on the outside here, I'm going to go ahead and rip that out and then tuck some of this back in. Actually, I meant to actually do the other thing. Did not want to actually put that back. And there we go. We now have a range, well, we will, with a hood. And actually, it won't be a range, it'll be 3 ovens. And speaking of ovens, I think it's time that we should go and just make those so we can put them in place and see what they look like. Okay, all that's done. And all we have to do is go install them. So we have 1, and we have 2, and we have 3. Look at that. We can heat our ovens from below, which isn't quite how that actually works. And their smoke will actually head up there. Now, the smoke from our fires here will actually get trapped under here, but game-wise, that isn't a problem. Okay, now the next thing I think we want is going to be a wash basin or a sink. So we're going to drop this white marble here. Although the more I look at it, the more it looks out of place with that aqua blue color. So you know what? I think we're going to skip the white marble. And this is indeed a chisel block already. And I think we're just going to go for some plain limestone. See there, that fits in with the earth tones a lot better. Now, as far as a functional sink goes, we need to be able to drop a bucket, well, the contents of the bucket, into a full block. Now, what we can do, though, is we can waterlog a block, just like in a different block game you may have heard of. And we're going to do that by chiseling out a sink, like so. And that will let us then waterlog this block, and we'll be able to then use this as a water source when we are doing things like making bread. I think we're going to probably drop this down most of the way. A bit like so. And then I want to grab a little bit of slate over here. Going to need a new light source. I'll just hold you for a second. And we are going to put a piece of slate in the bottom of this here as a drain, and then we're going to build a bit of a pump. Now, last time, up in the latter half of the first guide series, we made a more modern sink, like a faucet. I'm going to try to build a pump style, and we'll see how it goes. There we go. I think that's all right. A little pump handle, and we can get some water in here. Now, there is a bit of a quirk with the waterlog blocks, and you can waterlog a block just like you are putting a block of water on the ground. You can sprint, right-click with your... Oh. Why are we not able to waterlog you? I must need to make this a bit less of a block then.
1 hour later.
Ah, there we go. Finally. Okay, well, let's see if we can put in a bit of a bottom to this basin here. Aha! Okay, so there is a limit that we were not quite at before. I guess we're going to dig this down just a little bit more here. And we will also replace this with some of this wrought iron pipe. And then we will, once again, try to get this going on. And now, we still can't do it, okay? Okay. Not my favorite, but it looks like we have to have enough of a gap in the block. It's not quite so much about how much of the block is taken up. And I'm not going to mess with it further, but I do think we could probably get away with adding some of the sink back in. It has to do with how much sort of throughput the water could have before it determines whether you could put it there or not. Okay, well that was a fun experiment. Now, here's the other problem with water, is that it does this. That's why I brought along a second limestone block. We're going to place here, and then we're going to shave this down to almost nothing. And later on, we will have a tool, once we have access to iron, that will let us do this in a matter of seconds. However, we don't have that tool yet, so we're going to do this the old-fashioned way. And there we go. We have our sink. So what I want to do for the ceiling is I want to give this place a bit of an airy feel. So we have some very bold colors, very earthy. I don't want this place to feel like a total cave though, so I am thinking that it would be good to use some limestone. I was thinking about whether I wanted to use limestone or plaster, and the plaster ended up just sort of being too bright for me. And same with the white marble. So what we're going to do here is we're going to get this off our bar. We're going to get our chisel and hammer back out again. And what's more, we'll tuck you there. And we are going to chop all of these blocks in half. Okay, there we go. We now have a floating slab of limestone sitting right over our heads. And what we're going to do here is we're going to take the oak and we are going to add some oak to these blocks here. And we're going to do that by actually splitting these in half because we only need a little bit of it. And the game is careful to only give you as much material as you put into a block. So beware that you may need to add material of a type that you're already using. For instance, if we were to add this oak slab to one of these blocks, if we then tried to add more than the slab's worth of oak to this block, it wouldn't work. And what we're going to do is we're going to go around, and just like with the brick blocks, we're going to go ahead and add some of these slabs to each of these blocks on the edges and the corners. And then we switch over to the oak with our chisel, and we start crying, apparently, because apparently we did it wrong. So I was under the impression that it was supposed to be able to do... Oh no. Oh, do we have to do that? I think we do. Okay, so I'm going to have to play with this a little bit. If you are following along, just add full-size oak planks, the full blocks, because this is going to be a real pain in the butt. Apparently Vintage Story is smart, but not that smart. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and add these in here. No. What have I done to myself? So there's that, and then we finish out the crown molding by chipping away just this sort of little edge here. We make no mistakes, because if we do, I realize I have to go outside and undo some of this limestone again. And there we go, we have some nice crown molding. Well, I'm going to go and get ready for this temporal storm and weather it, and if Dave shows up, well, I'll bring you back. I'm kind of hopeful we might get to see him today because it is clear and it will be still daytime. So I'm going to go and get to that, And then we're going to come back, finish out the doorways here, the breakfast bar area, and we'll start to put the roof on. We're only going to put a small section of roof on because we need to be able to fit the rest of the roof on, like over here, on the future rooms of the house. But we will get this kitchen area finished. Alright, here we go, as the bear runs in terror from this storm. Come on, Dave. You can do it. It's perfect conditions. It's perfect conditions for Dave. No! Dave, where are you? Dave, my friend. Someone did suggest turning up my view distance, so I guess we could try that. Let's see if that changes things. Oh, there's Dave. Hello, Dave. So that was the issue, was my view distance was too short. I didn't think it was. So you can't ever actually get to Dave, but, that's Dave. Yeah. Big ol' walking mechanical giraffe thing. Ooh, my goodness, how did you get up here? You're not supposed to be able to get here. Ow. Ow. How did you get up here? Okay, well, I'll see all of you after the storm. Wish me luck. Alright, folks, good morning. It is good to be back. And I'm glad we got to see Dave. I didn't think my draw distance was that low, but apparently it was. So, yeah, we can see Dave now, which is perfect. So let's go ahead and we're going to get just a little bit more done on this room here. Now, what we're going to do here is... It's a very bright red thing. Anyway, we're going to grab some of this dirt here, and we are going to make some cob. Now, this is not the sod roofing that we're going to be doing later. This is a different kind of dirt. Now, this is actually a pretty nice conversion. You actually get 10 cob for each 4 dirt and 5 grass that you use, and we're going to make about 60 of these, I think. And we're going to just cover up this whole top here with this cob. Okay, not too shabby. Now, cob is a non-fertile soil that will nonetheless start growing grass on it like other soils will. So this will eventually become a nice green roof. And what we'll do eventually is we will come in with some of the sod, and I'll show what that looks like again. Not lod, sod. So we have this sort of sod roofing. We will come in and we will line the edges of this roof when we bring the whole roof out to its final location farther out here. So that will be for a little bit later, but we will get to watch this fill in with grass slowly over time in the meantime. Now, there are a few last things to look at here. I want to get us a few more pieces of walnut, and the reason is I want to make us 4 solid walnut doors. There we go. And I also want 2 walnut planks. And I'm going to fill in this, and this, like so. Now, these blocks up here, I'll probably just fill in with dirt, or maybe even some more cob eventually. And these will never be seen up here, so I'm not going to worry about these right now. Now, what's going to go on down here, and I haven't decided what I want to put into thresholds yet, but we don't have to decide today. We're going to go ahead and put these walnut doors in and open them. If I can get out and not be stuck, thank you. Oops, and of course, I forgot the old rule. You must start with the left door. Start with the right door and you will end up very sad. There we go. Now I imagine that these doors will mostly remain open. I can't really imagine a time when we might want to close them. Maybe if we aren't paying attention and we get stuck here in a temporal storm and we have to close up. Maybe, sure. But beyond that, these will generally just stay open. Now, what I want to do for the breakfast bar here is I want to get these off of our hotbar and get our hammer and chisel involved. We're going to chisel these blocks, and we're going to start by carving these out a little bit. And we're going to turn these into a bit of an arch while we listen to the sultry sounds of a nearby rift. Perfect. That's a pretty decent resolution, I think. We'll stick with that. And we're also going to turn these into a little bit of a breakfast bar here. And then we're going to add some walnut in here. And in here. And we are going to just shave off the top of this and put some walnut on. And then a slight bevel. And there we have a little breakfast bar. We can tuck our food on there if we want to. And just like that. Now, I do think it's worth it to replace these, probably with some slate here. There we go. That looks pretty good. And I'm thinking I'll need to go and get some more granite or something to put here. I don't want to put more slate here. It might get a little dark. I figure here, peeking through, is not too bad. But in these doorways attached to this, it might get a little dark. So I think I will not do that. However, there are certainly a few other pieces of furniture that we need. So I'm going to grab some pine. And we are going to head back in here. Because in order to do a lot of our baking, actually most of our baking, if not all of it, we do definitely need some tables. So we're going to make 3 tables. And they're going to go right here. And these will also act as our handrail, or at least our railing, so we don't fall down here. And we can do our pies up here. And then I'm thinking we're going to load up the rest of this area with some shelves. So let's go ahead and get some more shelves in with these here. Let's see if 6 is enough. I'm thinking we won't put a shelf above you. Maybe a picture. Ooh, maybe that picture of the forest could go up there. And maybe we could put some more shelves right there. And these will be for storing not just our empty crocks, but also maybe some other odds and ends. Because there are a lot of other little things you can put on shelves, like seashells and resin and bowls and stuff, so we could put a bunch of different things up here. I'm thinking once we move in, we'll round it out with some clay vessels, maybe like one in the corner here, and probably a spot for firewood, maybe in the corner here, but also maybe right here. I don't know yet. We'll have to see. And then in the future, maybe we can come in and either add something along the walls here, like tapestries, or just some paintings, or maybe if we don't find a whole lot in that regard, maybe we could come in here and do some fancy chisel work on the walls to make this even livelier. But I am really happy with how this came out. I feel like it's just cavey enough without being too cavey. It's got a little bit of headroom, but not too much. Maybe we can still jump and almost hit our heads. So I think it fits the bill. Now, there is just one more thing that I want to do before we call it today, and I wanted to show you a neat little trick you can do with lake ice. Now, this trick requires that you have the ability to chisel any block enabled. If you didn't enable it during the world creation, there is a command, and that command is if you go into your console and type in /worldconfig space microblock chiseling space and then all, probably in lowercase, oops, then it will enable the ability to chisel most blocks that are cube-like. The default is stone and wood only. If you changed it during world creation like we did, then you won't have to use that command. However, what we can do here is we can come in and just right-click all of these blocks and see how they actually change into chiseled blocks. And then we can mine them out. And we get this wonderful translucent, transparent lake ice. And I want to use some of this for glass blocks because it's like a nice frosted glass. Look at that. You can still see through it, but it's not quite clear. And so this is kind of neat for places where you want to have like a nice frosted window, but you don't want this sort of milky, foggy, streaky stuff that the clear quartz has. And I find the clear quartz is sort of both more and less clear than the lake ice. So, between episodes, I guess after I'm done recording this one, I'm going to finish tearing out this lake ice. I will probably dig out this junk underneath it, and we will save that for later. And I will also trim and then uproot all of these cattails and set them aside so we can start building up a small amount of cattail roots to go plant and harvest in a more utilitarian fashion. Well, everyone, with the rift over there making all manner of fun sounds in our ears, I think that's what we're going to call the episode. And look, we're holding a clear block, which means we can look right through our bodies. Of course. Always love that. Anyway, I hope you really enjoyed the episode and all of the work that went into gathering materials and then putting together our very first room in our house over here. The outside is, it's there, but the inside, this is what we're going to see on the regular. We will never, ever, ever see these blocks and probably even this side of these blocks, because I think when we come in through here and work on this room, I think this wall is going to be a different color than this side of the wall. That should be fun. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments, and as always, my name is Husband. Thank y'all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.